Super Smash Bros. Ultimate gets a lot of grief from its competitive community for its countless weird quirks. It's unlike pretty much every other FGC or Plat Fighter, which makes sense when you consider that it was pretty much designed to be the opposite of competitive. However, there's one really weird part of Smash Ultimate's design that baffles me, and that lies in its controls. This is the button setting screen in Ultimate. By default, the shoulder buttons are set to grab and the bumpers to shield. X and Y are both set to jump, which is convenient for the built-in short hop macro. What is a macro, you may ask? Well, put simply, a macro is when a button pushes another button or does another action for you. In Melee, Z-jump was when people remapped the jump button to the Z button on their GameCube controllers, which could be considered a macro. At least, I think so. That whole situation was pretty confusing to me. Going back to Ultimate, the short hop macro refers to when you press two jump buttons at the same time to force a short hop. This is useful since the frame window for inputting a short hop in Ultimate can be tight, since you have to press the jump button and then let it go before the character's jump squat ends, or before they leave the ground. This varied in older Smash games since every character had a different jump squat length, but in Ultimate, everyone except Kazuya has a 3-frame jump squat, making the window fairly tight. The A button is set to attack by default, and I'll be referring to it as such throughout this video. The B button is set to specials. Any of the buttons I just listed can be remapped to one another, which is useful, but not nearly as customizable as other fighting games. I'll get to that later though. The D-pad is set to taunt by default. Every character has 3 taunts, those being up taunt, mapped to up on the D-pad, side taunt, mapped to left and right, and down taunt, mapped to down. The funny thing is that the D-pad can also be mapped to any of the previous commands, but taunt can only be mapped to its respective direction on the D-pad. One last thing before we get into the really weird stuff. The left stick is always your movement. You cannot remap it to anything else since it's omnidirectional and would be pretty weird. Overall, these controls aren't too bad. There's really not much freedom for setting your own controls, which is especially prevalent when we look at a game like Rivals of Aether, my preferred Plat Fighter and favorite video game at the moment. Rivals, unlike Ultimate, has a button that you can set to your strong attacks, or smash attacks in Smash terminology. You can actually set any button to any action in Rivals, even taunt, giving you lots of freedom for how you customize your controls. You can even set buttons to specifically short hop or full hop. Speaking of smash attacks, that brings me around to the last button we have to look at. The right stick, or C-stick as many players call it, since that's what it's called on the GameCube controller. This button can be set to any of the previous 5 options, except for attack. Instead, it's on smash attack by default, meaning that flicking or holding down the stick in any direction will let you use either an up smash, side smash, or down smash. You can also set this button to tilt attack, letting you input your character's tilts with this button. This is the preferred option for many players, as tilts can only be used if you're standing relatively still and press the left stick and A. If you're running and try to use a tilt, you'll just get a dash attack. In fact, if you're running and try to use the C stick, you'll also get a dash attack. Why is that? In Rivals, the C stick always inputs a strong on the ground if that's what it's mapped to, so why doesn't it in Ultimate? Here's where we really get into my gripe with this control system. Remember when we discussed macros earlier? Well, the most widespread use of the term is used to refer to when one button inputs multiple commands. The way you input smash attacks as demonstrated on the How to Play video is by quickly moving your stick in one direction and pressing A at the same time. Smash attack is a macro of the left stick and the A button. This does a few things. For one, since you can't charge a smash in the air, since this game thankfully does not have raster in it, this will make you automatically do an aerial if you flick the C stick in the air. However, since you're also pressing the left stick for a frame according to Smash, you'll drift ever so slightly forward or back whenever you use fair or bear respectively. You can also fastball with the C stick, though you have to be in the end leg of another move to do it. But wait, there's more! Smash Ultimate has a system that lets you buffer aerials when you're jumping, and that includes with the C-stick. One small thing to note is that buffering an aerial always forces a short hop. This has a few weird quirks. If you buffer a C-stick, fair, or bear and hold that direction, you'll end up drifting in that direction as you perform the aerial, since the game will read that as you jumping and inputting the direction at the same time, which causes you to jump specifically that way. There are a few things that I can't really explain for sure, so comment down below if you know why any of the following happens. The dreaded C-stick NAIR occurs when you buffer a C-stick aerial but let go of the C-stick before the jump is over. This is likely because the left stick input gets eaten during the jump squad, or because the left stick input is programmed to come out after the jump squad is over while the A button input isn't. There's also a weird rare thing that I can't get to happen consistently where if you're jumping in one direction and do a C-stick aerial in the other direction but let go of the stick before your jump squad ends, you'll end up doing an aerial in the direction you're jumping. This likely has the same explanation as C-stick NAIR and further supports my theory since now that there's no C-stick left stick input, the real left stick input would pair with the A button to do an aerial in the direction that the left stick is tilted in. Ultimate has a few other settings in its controls, which we'll discuss before our last weird macro case. One is a toggle for controller rumble, which is pretty self-explanatory. One is a macro similar to the short hop macro, where you can press A and B at the same time with grounded left stick to use a smash. Stick jump, commonly known as tap jump, lets you toggle whether or not flicking the stick upwards will let you jump, and stick sensitivity changes how fast needed to flick the stick to start dashing, tap jumping, etc. Finally, there's one more action that's very strange, but is rarely ever something that'll come up. The grab button, for whatever reason, is a macro of shield and A. This even translates to when you don't use the grab button at all, since if you press shield and A at the same time, you will just initiate a grab. This is similar to C-Stick in that most, if not all of these examples will have shield being overridden, causing an attack to come out. The first example of this is actually something I came across in a video by YouTuber Dren Goddard in this video, Can You Beat Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Without Attacking?, where grabs, throws, and zairs were his primary method of dealing damage in World of Light. When he ran toward an item and pressed grab, he picked up the item and did a dash attack, likely since the shield input was overridden by the item being picked up, causing the controller to read an A input while dashing. You can also buffer short hop aerials by doing this, and while it's frame perfect, it isn't even very difficult. You can get up attack from ledge or tech situation with grab, and if you use grab during your skid animation, you can input a jab or F tilt. This is all the weird stuff I currently know about the game, but it's coded so weirdly that there may even be more that I didn't mention here. If you found anything else, leave it in the comments below, and I may even make a follow-up to this video discussing more weird things about this game. Make sure to leave a like if you learned something new, and subscribe for more Smash and Rivals content. I've got a big video on Plat Fighters coming up soon, so make sure you stay tuned for that. That's all I've got for you today, so until next time, this is Shoot Kapow, over and out.